it's time to get back and do a little bit more work towards the GT6. So my Mark II GT6 is sitting in storage, waiting to be properly started. With the Herald having been in an accident, I kind of messed up all my kind of schedule plans. But now the Herald is waiting to go back to be accident repaired, and when that goes away, GT6 can come in. But there's one last bit left that I can do now, and that is to assemble the carbs. So they've been off and been rebushed, had new throttle spindle bushings put in. I've got the whole rebuild kit, so it should just be a case of putting them back together. And hopefully as well, the manifold, which I've also had refurbished, is going to turn up in the next couple of days. And then I can mount them on the manifold, and then I can deal with all the throttle linkages and everything. They'll be ready to go back on the engine that time comes around. So let's get some carbs put together. Right, so what happened? I got the carb bodies out ready to start assembling stuff. I found they still had some residue from the soda blasting on them, and I could also see around where the new bushings have been fitted, I could see some cutting fluid, like green stuff, which must have come from the cutting or the honing. So I went and I gave them another. Well, I then cleaned up the faces on a piece of glass with some relatively fine sandpaper, just to knock off any rough surfaces on the gasket mating faces. Then I gave them a good wash and let them dry, and then I got distracted by something else. More on that later or earlier. I don't know how this is going to line up. So now they're ready to assemble. And I've actually just been round now with a pick and picked some more muck out of various crevices. I think the soda blasting was generally quite effective for the most part, but obviously it left residue, which has taken me quite a number of tries to clean off, and it didn't get absolutely everything. So I think if I was going to do carbs again, I might get a sonic cleaner. Soda blasting was quite effective, makes a lot of mess, took a lot of time to clean up, but I had it, and it wasn't another 100, 200, whatever it is, pounds on a sonicator, which I then have to store. Anyway, let's get some of these built. So first thing I am going to do is blow through all the holes. So I'm starting here with the front carb because that has the cold start mechanism on it. More interesting. Right, I'm back, having done some reacquainting of myself with what I did when I took these apart, and finding all the manuals. The problem seems to be I can't find. So these are definitely correct Mark II GT6 carbs. However, everything varied so much over the life of the Vitesse and the GT6. And none of the manuals I have seem to cover exactly these. So I've been going around convincing myself that I'm sort of right. Anyway, okay, I thought I'll return springs in, which I think are going to go. So this is the throttle lever for the front carb, and this is what rests on the cam for the fast idle on the choke mechanism. So I've just had to go and have a look at the video where I took these apart, because I couldn't remember the ordering of some of the bits. I'm not quite sure what this is for, but it was definitely there. Or why would you not just have a plate? Maybe because this did something different on another car. Anyway, so on here goes our return spring. Then we have this fairly chunky spacer. Oh, we have this chunky spacer, but maybe we do not, because then we've got space for our tab washers. This appears to have bits I don't recognise in it, which is interesting. Anyway, That goes on there. That goes on there. And the turn spring goes around there. So now the throttle plate goes in and says the two protruding dots, those are outboard and below the spindle. So I've just been looking at this against the light source to see that I've got fitting in and the smallest gap by eye underneath there. Right, those bits clean and dry. And I feel like my gasket goes that way round. But I haven't included the gasket for between here and here. I think that's because it said don't take it apart. So I'm going to have to make one. I'm sure this is going to work on something so little, but let's give it a go. Because this is small and the material's thick, I've had to kind of put it over the edge of the bench to kind of get it to go all the way, but it is working. Just going to cut the middle there. That's marked. I like using that too because it was my great grandmother's. She probably never imagined it would be used for making car gaskets. Okay, so I've gone and watched and re-watched my own footage several times, and I am now pretty sure that the thick washer with the slot for the throttle shaft goes there. The thin one goes on here. Then there's a start washer. Then there's the nut. And I've also been and checked and rechecked this, so this is the correct orientation of this plate. Obviously it could go 180 degrees around, but I definitely had it. So if this was at the bottom, this orifice, this oval shaped orifice was at that side towards this adjuster screw. Okay, and I really don't know why they didn't provide a gasket here, because, again, watching me on video, when I removed the screws that held all this assembly on, that just came away first. It's the spring of this pushed it away. So, anyway, that then sits like that. So that little gasket sits on in that orientation. Notice we are allowing this hole to connect to the valve here and this hole to connect to the valve in the same directly over the top of it, and that's actually going through to the inside of the throttle, so that's got to be our fuel paths, I imagine. Yes, because this is the other valve which goes to the other carb. Yeah, okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so I need to go shopping and find a start washer, or find where it went. I'm missing two. Anyway, you'll notice perhaps that I've not put any sort of gasket sealant or anything on here, because for starters there definitely wasn't any there when I took it apart, and I would be concerned about kind of gunking up that very fine mechanism with anything I put in there. So I may revisit, but for the moment that will be as good as it is. Well, that one will be good as it is. So while we're here, I think we can set that gap. Okay, so to adjust this, you put in a 5/16 inch or 7.9mm rod, and this is an 8mm drill bit which measures to me as 7.85mm, so that's good. So that gets then adjusted till it just touches. Yep. Leave the lock tabs for the moment. It does say in the small amount of instructions that came with this kit that our new O-rings should be lightly oiled. I'm lightly oiling with light oil. This is like 3-in-1 or so machine oil. I think that's us. Jet, spring, brass washer, brass bushing, aluminium washer. Then I'm going to recheck this later, but I think that's jet down, flush to the bridge, and then three full turns. Half, 1, half, 2, half, 3. Right, shuffle that back, shall we? New diaphragm. Got a tab on diaphragm, tab on body. Now this kit came with new jets but not new needles. Now, this needle does look alright, as you can tell. And I think this is one where we have to centre the jet, not the needle, so that needs to be loose. Needs to go in. Must be that way round. Must be that way round because that's where we've got some inlets to manifold vacuum. So my illustration actually shows it with the grub screw pointing towards the manifold. I'm not sure how that's supposed to work. I'm going to go have a check and come back to it because more information. Because I think this is an adjustable jet. Well, it is an adjustable jet carb because this is where you adjust the jet up and down. Needle's fixed. So the needle shouldn't need centering, and there doesn't seem to be any mechanism to center the needle. Yeah, so the needle is definitely not falling. If I take the jet out, the air pump falls with a nice clunk, which is what it's supposed to do. If I put the jet in, I'm not getting that, so there must be some extra centering I need to do. I'm going to need to go and find the right manual for this carb and find what that is. Okay, so we should, I'm sure people who've worked on these before know exactly what is happening, but we want to loosen that. Make sure our piston is, air pump is on the bridge, and do the adjuster up. We should be doing the adjuster up till it hits the air pump. So that's happened. So now be able to do up the jet holding thing. Okay, that's now on the. It's now lifting the piston again, the air pump. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Really? Well, it's not too difficult to do that again, is it really? So I'll call it good for the moment. You know, I was kind of expecting the repair kit to come with new needles, which it doesn't. So I might have a set in just in case. A new needle valve. These are the aluminium sealing washers that came with this kit. And there we are, quarter Whitworth. Because of course, even this more modern carburetor, and by more modern I mean not designed in the 20s like the SU. There's a reason I kept that quarter width spanner out. So what I'm doing now is measuring the float height. To do that, you need to measure the height from the top of, in this orientation, the top of the float to the face where the float chamber attaches. And I'm just doing this with the caliper, you know, just using the little protrusion at the back you use to measure depth. And I have to do a little bit of a tweak to the metal tab of the float just to get it into that range, which was 16 to 17 millimeters on these carbs. So, new gasket. And close this one up. I might have to splash out new ones of these because faded black plastic is not nice. Anyway, one done. I'll have a quick look at what they looked like before as well. Alright, back at it for carb number 2. I can do this one a bit faster. I mean, be the same amount of time for you. Or for me it'll be a bit faster because I'm not having to keep going off and checking where everything goes. I decided the adjuster screw needed plating on this one and not on the other one. Butterfly with our 2 dots outwards. Looking for minimal light showing through. Turn spring on here. A return spring sitting on that little space there. And this is where the throttle shaft connects. So once again, new diaphragm. We have our slot there. That does have a tab. That does have a tab. Okay. So I have incorrectly installed my other one. I'm also going to fix that. So there is a tab on the diaphragm, and there is a tab in the body, and there is a tab on the air pump. That fits there. Right, so I've gone and corrected the other carb. Anyway, this diaphragm is on. Needle can go in, hopefully. There's no grub screw in my air pump. Fell out. The right way around that time. do my O-ring oiling this time. Right, less of a mess. So, got this scribe in here just to let me shimmy it over that lip and bottom. Otherwise it's quite reluctant to go. There we go. Go, a bit less awkward. Okay, so this way round we've got, oh, there's a seal on that one. I'm sure there was not on the other one. Well, I am sure there was not, but there was the indent there. Okay, so we've got one that's going to fit in there quite happily. Okay, then that creates our seal, so the indent, O-ring, brass washery thing. So I've backed that off 2 flats. Screw the adjuster in. The jet is going to poke out. So jet is just touching the air pump. Do this back up again. Jet down 3 full turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 half turns. That sounds more like I would expect. So that's telling me, I think that O-ring is probably the thing that's doing the centering. It's a job there's 2, isn't there? Right, floats. Little valve first. Okay, we're going for between 6 and 7mm above the gasket face. No, that's not right. 16 to 17. Yeah, so before I button up the whichever way around they are, the front or the rear carb. Before I button up the rear carb, I'm going to take the front apart and do the seal properly. Clearly there was a bit that was missing, but I'm just going to do that. Not that you need to watch it. I think this is turning into how many ways can you get it wrong assembling the carb. So the needle, I also didn't have the needle all the way into its seat in the air pump. So now this one is fine. On this one, just needs the base on. Well, they're finally done. I think they come out quite well. I mean, and they should be functional, hopefully. Finally got it right. I don't know what I'm going to do, because I need to have tube between there and there for the cold start mechanism. So the fuel will be fed from there to here to basically perform the choke operation. And it looks like if I was to use regular fuel hose, this little pin would foul. And it was some sort of thin, well, I had the remains of a very thin piece of hose on these bits. So yeah, yet to be determined. Right, so they're done. I was going to set them up on the manifold, but the manifold has come back from being refurbished inside a sealed plastic bag, and I think let's just leave it where it is, so it stays as pristine as it is until it's time to go on the car. It also came with some bits of stainless steel Y-piece. There's a banjo bolt in there. It broke when I tried to remove it. Missing a screw to hold that on there. That's the choke cable attachment. And as I said, I need to work out my pipe, but otherwise I'm happy with these and they're ready to go. Don't know when my dates are going to line up, but as of now, in the real world, real time, the Herald's booked to go off in a couple of days, and about a week after that I'm going to be able to get the GT6 in the garage. So that's quite exciting. But for now, thanks everyone for watching, commenting, subscribing, and I will see you next time.